Greetings, Keith Russell Lee here, Senior Minister, Spiritual Director of the Destiny Center for Spiritual Empowerment in Washington, D.C. area, best-selling author and business leader. And I want to say greetings this day. I'm really excited on these lessons that I've been sharing as I've been talking about the 14 principles to power faith and living. Every year, I go back to the basics where I talk about the basic concepts of, how we are to be able to get it in gear and be able to move. We talk about, man, this is a great new year. We talk about all of the goals, the dreams, and things that we have in our lives. But the reality of the fact is, folks, it's very important that we get back to the basics to refresh ourselves and then build upon that foundation and move forward. I've been really dealing with two principles from Power, Faith, and Living. The first principles of Power, Faith, and Living is that you must have a theology of God. Your theology of God is important. The second thing is your theology of self. And I've been really talking about both of those principles because your concept of God is a direct reflection of your concept of yourself, which will then impact how you live your life. So if I want to have an empowered idea or concept of myself, I've got to have an empowered concept of God as well. So what I've been dealing with is challenging those paradigms, challenging those ideas and those habits of thought, if you will, of what we think about God and how we think about God and ourselves. Now, I want to talk today about this from the standpoint of, do you really know who you are? Because, my friend, most of us, we don't know who we are. We think we are who we are. I am the son of Joshua and Alilia Lee. I grew up in a small town called Markham outside of Chicago. I spent my formative years, as I say, in Richmond, Virginia. But yet that's not who I am. I can talk about my education, my credentials. I can talk about the influences that I have in terms of life and family and circles of influence that I'm a part of. But that's not really who I am and who we are. See, folks, most of us have embraced, if you will, what I call the flesh. The Bible talks about this idea of flesh and says that we war between flesh and spirit. Paul points that out so well. And matter of fact, he says that we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and powers in high places. And let me kind of break down this idea and this notion of this struggle of the flesh. Because, see, most of us identify with the flesh. And when I say identify with the flesh, I'm saying we think that's who we are. My friend, this body is just a shell. But what is in the shell is the essence of who we are. And most of us are ignorant to that fact of who we are. See, when I talk about life being Zoe, a life that is enriched, fulfilled, meaningful and purposeful with resources, I'm talking about life that we are living in the spiritual realm that is perfect, that is complete, that is present here and now, and in the future, we will be enjoying that eternally. But yet, I cannot embrace any of these truths if I don't know who I am. You may be in church for many years. You may be a deacon. You may be even a preacher. You may be one of those good pew members or what have you. You may even read the Bible from cover to cover. However, do you know who you are? Because until I embrace the truth of who I am, I'm lost. Man, I can sing the songs, I can preach the sermons, but until I know who I am, I'm lost, because if I don't know who I am, I'm not even going to know who my God is. I'm going to be serving and sharing somebody else's concept of God. Now, I want you to get really present to this, because this is some real talk. As Kevin Hart, the comedian, says, this is some real talk, right? And it's important for us to really embrace these ideas and notions. If I don't know who I am, I'm going to show up a day late and a dollar short. If I don't know who I am, I'm going to let disease dictate my life. Because I believe, folks, that we are supposed to be walking in the fullness of the kingdom of love, the kingdom of good health and well-being, of happiness, of success, prosperity, abundance, wealth, and yes, money. I believe we are supposed to have God's highest and God's best. But I'll never be able to operate in that until I embrace who I truly am. I'm not talking about what the civil rights activists told you who you are. You are a black man, a black woman. Because folks, when I really understand who I am, it transcends race. It transcends, be it black, white, Latino, whatever your nationality is. You transcend all of that because you know who in fact you are. I believe that the major problem that many people have, folks, in this life, in this day and age, is this, that they don't know who they are. So they stay in relationships, in marriages that they should not, that are killing their spirit. They allow their spirit to die. Oh, it's love, and we're supposed to. At what expense? But if you don't know who you are, you will allow anybody to treat you any kind of way. And if you don't know who you are, you attract the wrong kind of people. Oh, well, I'm supposed to be, staying on jobs that's killing your spirit. Well, I've got to be here, man. I want to retire, man, in the next few years. And you retire what? Broke. You retire broken not only financially, you retire broken mentally. You retire spiritually broken. As if those things can be broken, but I'm making a point here. And the point that I'm sharing is that you've got to know who you are. Because, see, we have been sold a false set of goods in regards to thinking who we are. And we've been tied into the flesh. And as one person called it, one writer called it the human race consciousness. The human race consciousness that looks at life through lack, limitation, and look at life through, oh, woe is me, and I'm on some hard, arduous course. Folks, let me share this with you. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Well, the Bible shares in Genesis 1, he says that you've been created and made in the likeness and the image of God. Genesis chapter 2, he breathed into man and man became a living soul. In the Psalms, throughout the Psalms, he says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The psalmist says, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou have made him a little lower than Elohim himself. He made him a little lower than Elohim, God himself. In Psalm, he says that ye are gods, for you are children of the Most High God, and that God is Elohim. It's a generic word for God, but he's saying that you are manifestations of God. You are part of who I am. Matter of fact, in the Gospel of John, John says this in John chapter 1. He says that everything that is made, that has been made, was made through him and by him. And folks, we are part of God. We are God in flesh. We are God incarnate. We are God, manifestations of God here on this earth. And when we begin to understand that I'm a spiritual being, made and created in the likeness and in the image of an almighty God, folks, that's who you are. See, that's what I'm talking about being on the spiritual realm. See, we wrestle between flesh. This idea of flesh is what I call oftentimes, using a psychological word, the ego. The ego is a self-manufactured notion and idea of who I am, the person that I've been socialized to be. This person who I have been taught, this is and educated in a certain mindset, in a certain way. This is who I am. And the reality of the fact is, folks, that's not who you are. That is some created self, but who you are is who God says that you are. That's why Jesus says that if you have faith in me, you can do those things that I have been doing, and even greater things you'll do, because Jesus says that I know who you are. And you're going to be doing greater things than me. And I know that blows a lot of people away. Jesus, we can't do anything greater than Jesus. Well, why would Jesus say that we could do greater things? See, I've got to understand the word. I've got to understand the scriptures as Jesus saying that which is within you is spirit. And that which is within you is God. That which is in you is me. And therefore, when I embrace my authentic self, and I write about that in the 14 Principles of Power, Faith, and Living. I write about that in my upcoming book, The Destiny Course. I talk about our true spiritual nature. Our authentic self is that which is spirit, which is divine. Folks, I want you to embrace who you are as a spiritual being. created and made in the likeness and in the image of an almighty God, of knowing that greater is he who dwells inside of you than he that is in the world, of knowing that, hey, you are all that God says that you are. And that's what I want to share today. Now, I do want to remind you, folks, we've got like a week, 8 days till the Saturday morning experience in the Washington, D.C. area at the Northern Virginia Community College in Annandale. Annandale is 14 miles from downtown Washington, D.C. It's right off of 495, the Little River exit. And we are going to be at the Northern Virginia Community College, and I'm expecting you to be there as we're going to have a tremendous experience. I'll be sending out emails in regards to that today. In addition to that, don't forget January 25th, I will be in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, in Bala Kenwood. That's a little suburb right outside of West Philly. In Bala Kenwood, I will be at the Marriott Courtyard on City Avenue. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there on those days, right? Well, listen, until next time, live with faith and power. Keep on, continue to create that phenomenal life. I am Keith Russell Lee. Bye now.